Well, I'll give you my morning update. We had a 10-hour lull from last night into the early hours of the morning, but there was no rockets coming into Israel. As some of you know, last night there was a false red alert given, and it showed every city in Israel, hundreds and hundreds of cities, were being hit with rockets, and it turned out to be a false alarm. It was either hacked or a mistake. They're investigating. We also had a false alarm that 20 terrorists came in by air, ultralight aircraft, or paramotors, and that too proved to be false, but it kicked our military into gear searching for them, and finally the Air Force said we had no aerial intrusion, and they couldn't find any paramotors, they couldn't find any ultralights, they couldn't find any terrorists, nobody saw them, nobody heard them, nobody got attacked, nothing. So it was 2 false alarms. It was very, very tense in Israel. Everybody was off the streets and in their bomb shelters. I stayed in my house. Okay, so what's going on? Blinken arrived in Israel this morning. It's now confirmed that there's, officially confirmed, there's the existing aircraft carrier group Gerald Ford with 6 escort vessels and probably submarines off the coast of Israel in the Mediterranean. 2 American landing ships have showed up by Haifa, very close to the port. And these are ships that can carry 15 to 2,500 expeditionary force Marines with heavy equipment and armor. And this is very quiet in the news, but it did come out, and this is to help with hostage rescue. The other aircraft carrier, which is Dwight D. Eisenhower, is chugging towards Israel. And the Americans are saying it's going to be there to help the Gerald Ford if they need it. Not in those exact words, but very close. We have not done an invasion into Gaza yet. The electricity is not going back on. The Israeli government is dead bent on it. There is going to be no entry into Gaza with humanitarian aid. The government is dead bent on that. The purpose of this, the government released today, is that if they return the hostages, all the hostages they have, then they will probably open up the border for humanitarian aid and possibly turn the electricity on, probably. So that's the purpose of this. So it's to save the hostages. It's not to just get their pound of flesh back from Hamas. 338,000 Palestinians have been in Gaza, have been displaced from their houses. America was trying to broker a deal where Egypt would take them in, and Egypt doesn't want to hear anything about that. Egypt doesn't want them. Jordan won't take them in. Nobody's going to take them in. They're there for human shields for Hamas. That's what they're there for, to support Hamas, to attack Israel constantly. That's the whole purpose of this. They're not taking, nobody's taking them. So their colors are showing. Now, if they take them, these people are going to have no place to return to, because what you see in Gaza right now is going to probably get 3 or 4 times worse for destruction of buildings, streets, etc. Israel did not blow their electric generator plants up, if they have any. No, I don't even know if they have any. We supply it. This is going to cripple Hamas because they're not going to be able to charge their electrical devices of communication and all sorts of other things. They're going to run around using, batteries from cars and whatever they could come up with. It's not going to be enough, and it's not going to work. I am sure that when the announcement came of the blockade, they probably confiscated all the food and water for Hamas and PIJ from all the stores, stripping the shelves, leaving the people to suffer. Now remember, these people that are suffering were the ones going out in the streets and handing out sweets when the Israelis got killed on Saturday. They're not handing out sweets anymore. We're having protests and problems in the West Bank, in Nablus and Hebron, which we had before this attack. And the military is handling it quite well. Syria quieted down much. We're not hearing much about that. Hezbollah hit Haifa last night with a lot of damage and destruction with a serious missile. And then they seem to be just going back to border skirmishes with our troops at Lebanon. After calling up 300,000 reservists, we called up another 360,000. The Americans have not taken action yet. With the Muslims, threatening them generally means little. This has never happened to them before. With aircraft carrier groups coming over here, we have troops in Israel, all kinds of special forces to help with the hostage negotiation, and you have the 2 landing ships. I don't know if they actually docked up in Haifa and put their people, their soldiers, into Israel military bases. I have no idea yet. Israel, correctly so, is playing their cards close to their chest. They're smart. I mean, why shouldn't they? They should. Best thing. I don't know what America's going to do, but I have a pretty big idea they're going to do something militaristically. I don't know how smart and experienced they are in dealing with the Muslims. They've had a lot of experience in Iraq, Afghanistan, and other places, and now Syria. And I think they have a pretty decent understanding of them, okay? And the only thing these people are going to respect, these terrorist groups, the only thing they're going to respect is an actual force, not just a threat. The only thing they're going to respond to. Look at them. They're running around attacking American soldiers in Iraq and Syria for months and months, hitting embassies and consulates. And, you know, they until there's shown that force is applied against them militaristically, then they're going to stop and scratch their heads and say, oh, what did we get ourselves into now? Hezbollah is kind of between a rock and a hard place, and they're not sure what in the world they want to do or not do. They want to keep intermittent skirmishes going with Israel, possibly rockets here and there into the interior. Hitting Haifa, a civilian population center of hundreds of thousands of people, is a war crime. What do you think it is? It's a war crime. But they don't intend to do much about it. I'm not hearing the UN investigating them. You know, nobody invaded Hezbollah. Nobody attacked Hezbollah. They just they started with us. We didn't start with them. Now remember, Israel did not start with Hamas. They started by sending terrorists into Israel and massacring hundreds and hundreds of people, many of which were foreign nationals. There was torturing, there was abuse. I'm not even going to get into it. It was horrific, okay? When the Nazis invaded countries, they did not go door to door and shoot the civilians, okay? Hamas did, okay? They burned houses to wait for the people to come running out and then shot them and took them captive, okay? Did the Nazis take children captive and babies and stuff? Yes. Did they kill them? Yes. Okay, so to try to create an analogy between the Nazis in World War II and Hamas is very difficult to do, and it's rather pointless. Okay. Zelensky from Ukraine showed up in Israel yesterday for support. He was actually wearing a suit and tie. Imagine that. Greece already sent 2 warships, not aircraft carriers, things like destroyers, things like that. Frigates, corvettes, I don't know how they classify them. They're on their way to Israel to support the Gerald Ford aircraft carrier group. I expect we'll see more. The UK top aircraft carrier group is on full alert, ready to be sent to Israel if needed, or requested, I would think. We're getting intermittent rockets still from Gaza. It's a mystery to me how they can keep going. I don't know how, but they are. And they're not major barrages, but they're bad. In general, the extreme mass of Arabs living in Israel are not rising up against Israel. They like it here. They like Israel. They have a good life here. They're free. They got a good standard of living. They have good health care, the same health care we have. And there's no signs of any uprising whatsoever. The Bedouins in Israel are actually working with the military and threatening Hamas that they're coming to Gaza. So their cries to get the people in Israel that are Muslim to rise up against Israel is a pretty dismal failure on their part. The trouble in the West Bank cities of Nablus and Hebron is mostly terrorists that are living there. That's some population. They started handing out weapons to any Israeli who wanted them in Sderot and in the West Bank. And I lived in Israel. I've lived in Israel a number of years, and I've seen a lot of wars, and I've never ever seen this. But I know that they have it. I knew for a long time, but I never knew they were going to do it. There's a lot of surplus old army weapons that, in my understanding, that they will hand out if we get a serious invasion. Kuwait did that when Iraq invaded, and it was fairly effective. The people in the South that were unarmed because of Netanyahu's horrific gun control laws probably would never have gotten slaughtered. They come to the house, you locked in the house, they start banging on the door, you put a few rounds through the door, they're going to not stand there. They might return fire, but that's just blind fire. They're not going to, they're going to go away. What do you think they're going to do? They're not going to go in. We're talking assault rifles, not pistols now. A pistol is a decent deterrent, but an assault rifle is what you want. I think before this is over, they're going to be handing a massive amount of assault weapons out to the people. But with so many reservists active, I don't know how many assault weapons they're going to have handy. They're issuing people in the reserves that have not yet been called up, rifles if they want them. So the number of guns being distributed that are on the street now is very, very high. It's growing. Not very high yet, but it's growing. Hezbollah is scared. They don't know what the Americans are going to do. This action on the part of America has never happened before. And they are really nervous. And Italy, Germany, France, and UK have promised to help Israel with whatever they need, which probably means troops on the ground if it comes to it. And that scares them too. You see, they're waging a war without any decent navy to speak of. It's a joke navy, okay? I mean, their navy is not serious, okay? And they don't have an air force and they don't have ground-to-air defenses. It's just rockets and missiles. Now, if that was effective, Israel wouldn't bother building up a big military. They would just get themselves 100,000 missiles and rockets by Lebanon and Gaza. These are terrorist tactics. They're not legitimate war practices, okay? So the Iraqi militia came and they're helping. These are terrorists, not the official government. These are terrorists helping the Hezbollah. And Hezbollah is looking for more help. It does not look like Syria's, as of yet, getting deep into the game. But there are Iranian troops in northeast Syria, which is hundreds of miles away from Israel, and that's probably more than anything a threat to the American bases in Iraq and Syria. Biden is not going to enjoy being threatened. His resolve when he gave this speech a few days ago was extremely firm, and he's not rescinding, and they're not going to give in to terrorist demands with the hostages or anything like that. So, other than that, we're in a holding pattern. The unity government's been formed. I'm not expecting much change in the war. I think it's going to continue the way it has been. And it's going to shore up the confidence of the Israeli people because there's no more political division during the war, and it's going to trouble the Arabs, the Muslims, not the Arabs, the Muslim terrorists, the terrorists. And that's pretty much what I got. For more updates and more serious analysis and things like that, go to my Telegram site. It's free. You need the app, Telegram Messenger. That's free. Everything's free with Telegram. They got over 700 million members. I update that probably twice an hour when I'm awake, which is many hours. And just send me an email. My email address is israelgiving7@gmail.com. israelgiving7 at the end @gmail.com. It's also listed at the lowest line down in the description box of the video. And I'll send you the invite link for the Telegram, okay? And it's all free. And there you're going to get a lot of videos and a lot of pictures and a lot of commentary. I translate from Arabic, from what they're saying in Gaza on social media. I translate what they're saying in Hebrew in Israel to English. I translate to English. And I also translate from Iran social media from Farsi. So you'll get a really good, wide perspective from someone who lives in Israel, and I write commentaries with many of these posts and explain. I enhance it and explain it to you. So please pray for me. I'm Moshe and my wife Rivka. Pray we don't have to go to bomb shelters, and pray we don't have to suffer from attacks. My wife's not in country yet. She is having trouble getting back. She left before the war, and there's an extreme shortage of air flights because they are not, many airlines suspended flights. That may get resumed, it may not. I don't know what's going on. We don't know. Nobody knows. It's day to day, hour to hour. So there's plenty of food available in Israel, plenty of water, and everything's working, and people are going about, trucks and cars, and people walking on the street. In my area, not in the south, and not up by the Lebanese border, unfortunately. And that's what I got right now. Make sure you're subscribed and click the notification bell, because I do these live stream updates several times a day. And if anything like serious happens, I jump right on. So that's what I've got now. I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach, and I'm out.